Good morning, Faith in Real Life family. Good to see you on this Thursday, July 28th. Peace be with you. I chose this mug for a purpose today. I got over the cabinet and I looked in and I said, "Speak to me." And this is the one we ended up with. So I'll explain why in a minute. But if you're hopping on this morning, nice and early, good morning. Thank you for joining us for Coffee and Conversation. Peace be with you. Libby, Dottie, Ann, Amy, and Carrie, thank you for being on nice and early this morning. Been a weird week. Both Carrie and Millie are on vacation and lots of things going on at the Faith in Real Life Hive compound. So not everybody could fill in on those days. So we've been a little wonky with our shows this week, but thank you for hanging in there. So this cup, I haven't used this in a while. Very blessed that Tina Surha, part of the Faith in Real Life community, back when we first started Coffee and Conversation in 2020, a couple weeks in, I was going through mugs and she sent me this one. And it was one that I needed, one that I didn't know that I would need, how much I needed it. But it's Psalm 1:1-3. Blessed is the man whose delight is in the law of the Lord. He is like a tree planted by streams of water, which yields its fruit in season. Whatever he does prospers. This was before we had started looking for a retreat property. So I read that today and I was like, that God, he does some amazing things. And he always shows up way before we think that he showed up, but he's always there. So that just made me smile this week. So there was something else that happened the other day. I've been catching up on a lot of stuff. As we've been busy, I get behind. And so now I'm going through emails and different correspondence. And one of them was actually from the old community that we used to live in the development. And it was when you don't have, there's seasons of life, right? So you have the one where you have little kids, then there's the one where you maybe have older kids, and then there's the one where you have no kids and college kids, yada, 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 yada. Good morning, Gina. Good to see you. So we don't have kids in school anymore like we did when we lived at the community. So they sent an email and it said end of summer party. And it was for, I think, August 12th. I think was the date on it. And I was like, end of summer, August 12th. Doesn't summer go till Labor Day? Why are we celebrating so early? And I know why they're doing it now, because it's the kids going back to school. And I don't know when they go back to school there. But I just thought, end of summer. That was a really interesting thing to see. That kind of took me back for a second. To just think about life and kind of figure that one out. And at first be like, no, it's not the end of summer. And then secondly, be like, well, I guess it was in a different phase of life. So my question to you this morning, including you, Clara, good morning. And good morning to you, Colleen and Becky, you sweet souls, you. Here's my question for you this morning. In the last week, or maybe just in short recent memory, has there been anything that you've seen that either just struck you as weird or I don't know, made you think about an older time? I mean, this is a very vague question, but what it reminded me of is that sometimes we just see stuff that is either wrong or silly or life-changing or something. But what reminder has been out there, just maybe something that you saw that stopped you in your tracks where you were and just made you think? And even our topic today was part of my catch up. I was doing some other leadership work that I'm doing for another organization. And I came across some notes that I took about something else. And that led to the 10 keys to leadership that we'll talk about today. But is there anything that you've seen? Maybe it's a billboard, maybe it's a bumper sticker, maybe it's an email that either just incited some kind of thought process for you, or something that made you think deeper. So we'll leave it up there. We'll see what anybody has to say. So if you just jumped on, good morning. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Peace be with you. Coffee, conversation, faith, and real life family. And if you're just traveling by and you're like, I have no idea why that guy that I went to high school with or this guy that I do business with is on the internet and what's he talking about? You should stick around because you're supposed to be here. You never know why God places you where he places you. We talk about faith. We talk about real life. We talk about faith and real life. And we have great people here. So you should stick around and be part of the faith and real life community. So yeah, so just think about that question for just a few moments. So anything that you've seen or heard that, like I've seen things that have a typo in them. And then I'm like, what? And then I don't even get the whole message of whatever that company was trying to sell. I'm just like, that is not even right. That's spelled wrong. So anyway, while you think about your stories, anything that you've seen that may have stopped you in your tracks in correspondence, like end of summer on August 12th. Come on, I can still wear white till Labor Day. Don't take away the rest of my 3 weeks of summer, fools. But here's my 10 keys to leadership today. And these actually come from Warren Buffett. I didn't put it in my title because then people would be like, I don't like Warren Buffett. I don't want to hear what he has to say. But these are good. Warren Buffett's a pretty crazy successful business person. So regardless of maybe his politics or whatever you don't like about him, you should like these leadership skills. We're going to go through 10 of them and feel free to comment on any of them this morning as we do. So number one, and this came about, number one is like, this just hit home from a conversation that I've had probably 10 times in the last 3 weeks. Number one is love what you do. Love what you do. I was telling a gentleman yesterday that was here, a friend who came and looked at our water system here at the retreat house. And we were just talking about passion. And he purchased this business, I don't know, maybe 5 years ago. And he just loves it. He just loves what he does. And he has no intention on retiring and no intention on changing, but he just loves what he does. And so in order to be a leader, in order to share what we have with people, like we have to love what we do. Some of you today might be watching and might be very involved in an organization, a church, a club, whatever it might be. And what we tend to do is we tend to grumble about that to other people. That doesn't show our love for what we do. Showing our love for what we do is being excited and being reminded that we love what we do. So number one, you have to love what you do. And as I was speaking to the gentleman yesterday about his work and his passion, I said, I don't think in ministry, like I've ever really worked a day. Like my body has physically done things and I would go to quote unquote work and we quote unquote have jobs. But in my psyche and in my heart, none of it's work. Like it's just action for a greater purpose. So you have to love what you do. And if you've forgotten about why you love what you do, then you have to get it back. But make sure you love what you do. Number two. So number one, love what you do. Number two, learn how to communicate effectively. So these are 10 valuable leadership points from Warren Buffett. Love what you do. Number two, learn how to communicate effectively. Sometimes, and I'm going to hit the church on this one. I'm going to hit some of us sometimes, right? Because I've been guilty of it before. But when we want to be right, we forget to approach things with a sense of proper communication or with love. We just want to be right, or we just want to delegate a task, or we just want to get in a quick comment before we move on to the next thing when we're busy. But that doesn't let us communicate effectively. So we have to share our comments compassionately, number one, in truth and love, if we're talking about faith or anything like that. But if we're working in a secular work environment, how do we communicate effectively? Not communicate, not just talking to, but how do we communicate effectively in order to be the person that we want to be, to get the point across that we want to get across? I think we have a lot of problems right now with communication because of the digital age, um, but we have to communicate effectively. Let's see what Amy has to say. Um, I'm going to just read her comment out loud because it's a long one and I know it's good. It says, weekly, I choose reflections to include in an online e-news. In case you don't know, Amy has always done the communication for our home parish. And so that's what she's doing last night. She's making that up. Last night, I read a comment about how someone interpreted it completely different than I read it. It made me stop and really read the reflection over and over again to see the person's point of view and be sure of my own so I could respond carefully. Right. So I asked the question at the beginning, is there anything that you saw that kind of like stopped you in your tracks and made you think? Communication, it kind of goes with point two. It was like futuristic. You picked future moment, honey. Um, but sometimes we hear something in our current state. Maybe it's a joy. Maybe we're in a place of joy. Maybe we're in a place of goodness and wholeness. And we read something. But somebody coming from a place of hurt or a place of struggle might see that same exact thing and read it completely differently. Now, that doesn't mean that we always have to stop and obsess about what we do or what we say so much, but it does lead us to think about, in our compassion and the ability to communicate, to not freak out when somebody doesn't interpret what we want the same way that we meant it. So we do have to give each other a chance to explain ourselves sometimes when someone didn't read it. Um, when I was writing my first book, the editor told me, have your wife read it out loud to you before you publish it. Like, well, you're in the draft phase. Have your wife read it out loud to you. And I was like, why? And I was like, I wrote it. Why does she need to read it out loud to me? And she said, because you'll hear exactly how she's interpreting what you're saying. Humility. And humility teaches us to learn to communicate effectively. And as Dottie just said, you have to listen. Dottie, you are wise beyond your years. Yes, we do have to listen to communicate effectively. Number 3, I'll change this up a little bit, but this is what was written. Choose your business associates wisely, right? Whether it's business associates, whether it's volunteers, whether it's just friends you're asking to help on a task, choose them wisely, not necessarily for their strength or their brawn or their influence, but for their character, right? Sometimes people don't have the financial needs that you would want in a business or in a fundraiser or whatever it might be. They may not be there financially, but they might be there with their character. Utilize that character. Loyalty you cannot buy. Loyalty you cannot teach. So you have to think about who are the people that you're letting into your world to have influence and to not only work with you, but to represent you, right? If you lead a ministry or some type of nonprofit, you don't just grab people close to you because, oh, well, that person, yeah, they know a lot of people. But what is the character? How are they going to benefit and build up your organization in addition to that? Or are they going to cause more problems? Last night I was watching a show about college recruitment, a documentary on ESPN, and it was about how Southern Methodist University back in the late 80s was paying to get all these good players to come. And long story short, the NCAA was on them. They were starting to fine them. They had put them on probation, and they were supposed to stop everything. But there was this one kid that they really, really wanted. And a professional athlete, NFL player that graduated from that university, met with this kid while he was still in high school. And he told the university, do not draft or do not ask this kid to come play for your college. He's a bad person. Like, he's just a bad egg. And at the end of the day, they didn't listen to him, and they still put the kid on the team. Well, he ended up being the one to basically rat out the whole university about what they were doing because things didn't go his way. And so they sacrificed character for their desire to win. They were cheating all the way along, so they needed to be slapped on the hand. But it was just like, to go with that one, like, their love of wanting to win looked past the character of the person. So make sure that you choose the people around you wisely. Number 4, this is a good parenting one. Don't micromanage. All right. So when you've allowed somebody to have a task, to do something for you, let them do it. You chose them. They're with you. They're the person that is given this task. If you're in the business world and they work with you, you may have to pick up some pieces afterwards, but you either have to let them sink or swim. And micromanaging doesn't allow their inabilities to be shown if they're not talented. Also, if you micromanage, you're not allowing the person that you're working with to live to their full potential and to do it their way. They're just a robot doing it your way. And the same thing with our kids. We can't micromanage everything that they do to prevent them from failing. They have to have the small hurts in life. They have to have the moments where they have to figure out real world circumstances when they're young so that they can do it when they're older. Don't micromanage their lives. You want to pull some strings from the behinds, in the background so that they're not hurt as deeply as they could get hurt, but they still feel the pain. That's fine. But don't micromanage them to the point that you're controlling everything in their life. So love what you do, learn how to communicate, choose your business associates wisely. Don't micromanage. If anybody wants to chime in with anything relative to any of these, Dottie, you already have. That's great. Colleen has. Love it. Please feel free to share in the community. Love your takes. Love your takes. Number 5, in management. Plan for the future. I'm going to say that again. Plan for the future. Don't obsess about the future. Planning for the future allows us to be moldable, allows us to have a vision, allows us to look past our hurts today or our setbacks today because we're planning for the future. We're planning. And if we planned previously, we will know that these things happen. But we have to plan for the future. We save money. We live in a way, maybe it's our own lives and the way that we take care of ourselves and exercise and diet, that we're planning for the future, that we're setting up our bodies to be ready for aging. I gotta start thinking about that stuff at my age, 47. It's time to, gotta think about what, when I'm 90, what I'm going to be like. But we have to plan for the future and not obsess about the future. Because as we learned in 2020, our world changes so fast right now that there's things that we don't have control over. So we plan for it, but we don't obsess about it. Number 6, transparency is highly appreciated. I think this is interesting the way it's worded. Transparency is highly appreciated. Being vulnerable or authentic would be the word that I would even put here instead of transparency. We don't need to puke our entire lives out in front of somebody or to tell everybody every little thing about why we do what we do, or um, let them into things that they necessarily can't handle. But transparency basically says, I'm not just telling you to do it because I said I would do it. Let me give you a little bit of reasoning behind this. Let me tell you why we have to do it this way. And I think when people see that, they appreciate it, because it's like, you valued me enough to let me peek behind the curtain, to let me see Oz just a little bit, but you let me peek behind that curtain. And so now I understand why you're telling me to do what we have to do together, and that you're not just ordering me to do this, but you're walking with me. Transparency makes people feel like you're walking with them. We're in the same race. We're in the same fight. Even though you might be my superior, even though you might be my parent, I get a little bit why you're telling me we can't do this. Money might be tight. You're having trouble making the mortgage. Kids want to go on vacation. Don't just say we're not going on vacation this year. It might be okay to say, I have to tell you that nothing to be worried about, but we had to choose this year. Normally, we don't have to choose between the mortgage payment and vacation. But this year we had to choose, and we should be grateful for our home. And it's not that we don't love you, and it's not that we don't want to go on vacation. It's just that mom and dad had to make a hard choice. So what can we do? That's fun, but it's just not going to be our vacation. Very real life conversation. A little bit of transparency can go a long way. Becky says, related to our business associates, we need to value ourselves and the others we work with. Yeah, value yourself. I love that. Don't just think about everybody else. Here's a big one. Patience is a virtue. Be patient. I don't need to beat that one to death. Just be patient. Take a breath. Something makes you angry. Something makes you upset. Walk away. You get an email that you interpret, as Amy said, people can interpret things differently. You get an email that makes you interpret something that really pisses you off. Walk away. Walk away. Don't send it back. Let it go. Be smart. So whether it's in conversations or whether it's in follow-up, patience is a virtue. Number 8, manage your time wisely. I'll go ahead and post these after the show, but manage your time wisely. That means you have to leave some time for yourself. It means that you need to leave some time for interruptions. And it also means that you have to be realistic about what you can really accomplish. And I would add a fourth one. It also, when you manage your time wisely, it also allows you to dictate who you allow into your world to have part of your time. Like if there's that energy vampire or that sad sack person that's always robbing your soul, and I'm not talking about not ministering to them in the way that you can, but if there's people that are going to thwart your efforts, don't let them rob you of your time. Don't let them steal your time from you. But manage your time in a way that still leaves time for interruptions. So if they're that's okay, but you got to limit it. But also only put things on your plate that are manageable. And somewhere in that day, you have to make sure that there's time for you. And the time for you when you need it. Maybe it's first thing in the morning. Maybe it's a post-lunch walk. Maybe it's an after-dinner drive. Whatever it means, make sure that you manage your time wisely. Number 9, be prepared to take risks and learn from your mistakes. Let me know if you're watching, risk taker or conservative. If you were to describe yourself, would you describe yourself as a risk taker, or would you be somebody that would be conservative and not want to take the risks? We won't use this against you as some political point of view later in life. I'm a risk taker. I always have been. And it's funny because I like things in order. I don't like surprises, but I have no problem taking the big risk in a calculated gamble. I love I love how it pushes me outside my comfort zone and makes me learn something new, and with also has the opportunity for huge wins. So, are you a risk taker or are you a conservative? And so we have to take some risks when we're a leader. And if it doesn't work out, then we just need to learn from that mistake. When you take the risks, you're going to fail, you're going to fall, you're going to maybe do something the wrong way. You pick up the pieces, you say, what do I learn from that? And then it's going to make the rest of your time better. But if if in leadership, we always do what we've always done, and we don't change with the times, and we don't change with the situation, and we don't change with the culture, as a leader, we end up missing so many opportunities. And so, even in relationships, I know people that are afraid to love, people who are afraid to be committed. They don't want to take the risk. And then what ends up happening is they never get to experience the big love that it means from giving of yourself. So, different ways to look at it, but take the risks, learn from the mistakes. And I love that you're chiming in. Thank you for those of you willing to share your risk taker or conservative. Um, Let us know. Continue to answer that one, even if you're watching the replay. And then number 10, and I'll go through these one last time, but number 10, oh boy, do we need this. Treat everyone equally. Treat everyone equally. We had a gentleman here yesterday that was fixing the warming drawer in the kitchen. And we came from very different backgrounds. And I love having conversations with the people that come to do work. And whether it's him that's coming to a young man coming to fix an appliance, or whether it's our largest donor to the ministry, who's somebody who's in business, I treat them all the same. They're all children of God, and they are all people that deserve my respect and conversation and time when I choose to give it to them. And so we have to treat everyone equally. Now, that's how we start out, right? And then if somebody bites us, if the scorpion bites us, then we learn. But from the moment that we meet everyone, compassion and goodness, truth and love, and an even playing field, to treat everyone equally, is the way that the world begins to change. And that's a role of leadership that all of us play. Doesn't matter what your job is. Treat everyone equally, and you'll begin to see walls melt. Doesn't mean everybody's going to respond the same way, but at least you'll know you gave everyone the opportunity to show their true colors and to be who God has called them to be in front of you. Treat everyone equally. So as we wind down today, here are the 10 valuable leadership lessons from Warren Buffett. Like I said, we'll post them on the page a little bit later. Love what you do. Learn how to communicate effectively. Choose your associates wisely. Don't micromanage. Plan for the future. Transparency, or as I said, vulnerability and authenticity, are highly appreciated. Patience is a virtue. Manage your time wisely. Be prepared to take risks and learn from mistakes. And lastly, treat everyone equally, which we all seem to say that that's so important. Anne says she's a risk taker while thinking conservative thinking about the situation. Love to live in the moment. That's funny. I know someone else like that. They love to tell you everything about the other side of the fence, right? The cup is always half empty. All right. So if you liked our comments today, if you liked our conversation today, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and hit the like or love button on your screen. Even if you've been listening in the background, go ahead and when you watch this video, give us a like, give us a love. I know that last week you shared coffee conversation. I saw a couple of you share it with people that really needed to hear the message. If you think that there's somebody that needs to read this today or listen to what we talked about, go ahead and share it with them when the show is over. Two quick announcements. I will be emceeing the Fest in Cleveland, Ohio on August 7th. 5 national Christian bands are coming. It's being headlined by David Crowder. We the Kingdom are going to be there. Rhett Walker. There's 5 bands total. I don't know them all in my head right now. But it's a free family event. If you go to thefest.us, you can learn more about that. I know that we even have a group from Buffalo coming in to stay at Trilogy and then go to the Fest. But I'll be on the main stage again this year. This is my 11th year emceeing the event. And usually there's about 40 to 50,000 people that will be there for the main stage concerts, and as well as it ends with a Catholic Mass at the end of the night. So come on out. It's all free. You can go and get more information there. And then on August 20th, one thing that I want to announce is that we will be running in for the Jess and Lilia Foundation for organ donation, organ transplants, and awareness for all of that for Life Bank. But we work with Bob Reisinger and run in honor of Jessica and Lilia Robinall Reisinger and their contributions after their death and organ donation. So we'll be running as a B team to do that. And so if you want to join us in a real simple walk, run, 5K at your own pace, at your own leisure, on your own time, actually, we'll get you more information about that. So just look for that. We'll be doing that. I think it's Saturday, August 20th. Correct me if I'm wrong, Libby, but that is the date of that. So we're doing some other things out in the community, and it's going to be great. Those are 2 new announcements, but we are grateful for you. Thank you for joining in. And as always, let's end in prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Lord, very simple prayer today. Help us be the person that you created us to be, and help us to be mindful of the people that need you. Help us to be mindful of the people that not only need you, but they need us to be the living example of you for them. And may we use these values of leadership as someone who believes in you and wants others to believe in you too. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Thanks again, fam. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you. Have a great day. Thanks for all those of you chiming in. And we will see you next week. All right. God bless you guys. Take care and have a great